Thursday evening, Hershey, Pennsylvania. This pizza restaurant is filled with kids, but they aren't eating, they're memorizing.
Okay, you guys ready? Andiamo.
This is the Hershey High School Memory Team, and this is their final practice before the U.S. High School Memory Championships in 2 days. This restaurant full of distractions is the perfect place to work on focus.
And they said, are you teaching memory or are you teaching, what are you teaching? And I said, well, focus. And I stopped for a second. I said, I don't know if I'm teaching memory or focus. And what is the difference between the two? So I think focus is the almost preparation of the brain to accept data and reflect, and memory is the recall.
Time. Keep your cards in order.
Colette Silvestri runs the memory team. She's been doing it for 11 years, and she believes that teaching memory should be a priority for every school.
When I first came in, usually I'm at other high schools, they had only juniors or seniors. And I, at that time, had gifted all the way down to 8th grade, and this one kid, can I try the cards? Let him try the cards. So I looked at that and I thought about it, why not start them young and see what happens? Some of them have noticed their focus is better in tests. They can sit through the homework, through it all. So it increases attention span. I was fascinated, their scores doubled per year. That's a lot. So even if they were challenged students, all their grades increased. And they learned how to study even if they were they needed help. That surprised me. So from the most challenged to the most talented, everybody's memory increased. And that's why I stuck with it. There you go.
Tuan is a sophomore at Hershey and an early favorite to do well in Saturday's competition.
I'm more nervous than excited. Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of big competitors there. In school, I have used memory to help me remember formulas and science and math, and I've created mnemonic devices and other such things, and it has helped me on tests and stuff.
Apparently the country likes it as a sport, but I'm praying they start looking at the research of the brain, because I'll tell you what, it is far more fascinating to me now than computers. I'm shocked at the beauty of the mental capacity. You can actually train memory. We all know you can improve it, but to see an Alex Mullen memorizing a deck of cards in under 17 seconds.
Alex Mullen has burst onto the memory scene over the last few years. He's also a firm believer that these memory techniques aren't just for show, but can help change the way we learn.
I felt like I didn't really have a very good memory. I was doing things in school and forgetting things and getting frustrated, and so I picked up this book called Moonwalking with Einstein by Joshua Foer that talks about memory competitions and memory techniques, and that's really what hooked me. Started to practice memorizing kind of silly things like numbers and decks of cards, and it kind of just hooked me. I mean, it's hard to describe, but it became like an obsession for me.
I remember when he first started doing it, because I thought it was hilarious, because Alex actually has a really bad memory in daily life, and I feel like I can say that because I'm his wife.
Alex and his wife Kathy are both medical students in Jackson, Mississippi. They took a year off to focus on memory. Alex became both the U.S. and world memory champion. When he returns to medical school this summer, he plans to use these techniques to help him study and learn.
My ability to come up with associations like that has definitely gotten better. I didn't consider myself to be a really creative person, and so I was worried about my ability to make associations, but it's definitely something that with practice you get better at, you get more creative, and it's very easy for me to think of things like that now.
He's a world record holder in speed cards, memorizing a shuffled deck of 52 cards in under 17 seconds. He's going to give us a demo, and we're going to show him memorizing this deck in real time because it is that fast.
All right, I'm gonna say, usually you get 5 minutes to recall the deck, so I'll just start that. All right, so we're gonna flip these cards over and see if the two decks match. This next one's, oh, okay.
Oh.
All right, that's a good sign.
Woo! That's awesome.
He nailed it in under 15 seconds. How? Each pair of cards represents a sound. He translates that sound into a word and then places it mentally into a memory palace.
Yeah, so for that deck, I used the row house that I used to live in my 3rd and 4th year of college in Baltimore. And so like for every event, I usually use a handful of different memory palaces. And so that's one of my speed cards palaces that I use. So like I started it basically like on the street in front of the row house. And I see like this opened can of jam. So each 2 cards for me becomes one image. So this is like an open can of jam, and I'm just sort of like smearing it on the bumper of a car out front. So that was the first image. And then this next one, there's like a kind of a little tree in our front yard. And so this is like an electric razor.
You're probably looking at this, I know I am, and thinking, there's no way I could do that. But memory athletes like Alex and Nelson have always said there's nothing special about their brains or their memories, that anyone can do this. And now science is on their side. In the Netherlands, Boris Conrad sits down with a deck of cards and memorizes them. He's a top-ranked memory athlete. He's also a neuroscientist.
We all want to have a healthy brain through all of our lives, and that other fields of neuroscientific research show us a memory that's used is a memory that stays. If you don't challenge your own brain, if you don't challenge your own memory, the risk to get dementia or other diseases also increases.
Boris works at the Donders Institute in the Netherlands with a fellow neuroscientist, Martin Dressler. Their latest study? To understand the brains of memory athletes.
So we were interested in what makes a memory athlete on the neurobiological level. So we do know that they use certain strategies, but we didn't know what happens in their brains.
The study enrolled 23 top-ranked memory athletes, including Boris. He helped design a regimen for the participants to train like the athletes do for 30 minutes a day for 6 weeks. There was also a control group. The brains of all 3 groups were then examined through a series of MRIs.
You can do a lot of different things, and what the first is, we looked at their brain structure, and we could see that by size, the brain and even the size of different brain regions did not differ to a control group. So then we looked at activation during tasks, so which part of the brain gets more active when you use such a memory technique.
And we were surprised to see that their brain structure actually doesn't differ that much from normal people. So there isn't any single structure, any single connection that really stuck out.
The researchers found that over the course of 6 weeks, the brains of the newcomers to memory training began to resemble the memory athletes, meaning this may not be a special talent that we're born with, but one that we can train our brains to do.
What's hard for us to remember is names, is facts, it's data, it's textbooks. It's all the stuff that memory athletes are good at, which is normally not visual directly. And the techniques they use make it visual. So at the end, they don't actually improve their memory capacity. It's already there. They just find a way to use the visual memory to store this normally much harder to memorize information, which normally doesn't go in there.
Back in Hershey, it's competition day for these high school memory athletes. Nerves are running high for students, like sophomore Tuan Bui. He's excited to meet 4-time champ Nelson Dellis.
These kids are super lucky to have teachers who know about it and who are creating clubs and after-school classes for them to practice and learn.
Okay, let's get this competition started. Rachel, will you get the timer running?
Begin.
Among the crowd here is Robert Ajamian from MIT in Boston. Like Martin and Boris in the Netherlands, he recognized a gap in the research.
Problem is there's no scientific explanation for why that happens. So my interest has been trying to figure out, not that this works, which has been known since the time of the ancient Greeks, but why does it work? What excites me about this is that this is the biggest behavioral phenomenon that I've ever seen, where anybody can do a minimal amount of training, say a half an hour a day, for 2 to 3 months, and all of a sudden you can do things like memorize an order of cards in a deck of cards that you would have sworn were not possible.
So what they're going to get is a person's name. So a Tea Party guest comes up on stage, gives their name. They will then give their date of birth.
The day-long competition is a true test of stamina. the weekly practices and focus training at the pizza restaurant paid off. Hershey High takes home the team championship. And Tuan wins second in the individual competition. A great showing for the 10th grader.
In my brain, I'm like, yes, I did it. Like, I actually did it. And the overwhelming part of my brain is like, I want to sleep.
It's a proud moment for Colette as well, who will continue to push to see memory techniques incorporated into the classroom.
The kids are all good. They're all good. Generation after generation. That's pretty cool.
So the kids passed their test. And back at the Swan House in Atlanta, it's time to see if we can remember those 5 U.S. presidents in order. No cheating.
All right, so let's start. And this I would have never remembered what I'm about to hopefully recall without this. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah.
So I see these doors, and I see that Mount McKinley.
Yep.
I see that snow. I feel it. It's cold. Open the doors, and you get that fresh air. So that's McKinley.
Perfect.
All right. Move on over here, and the image is, you know, the Grateful Dead, big purple teddy bear
Yeah.
sitting there, standing there, starting to take some drinks out of those little
cups.
containers, those cups. So that's Teddy Roosevelt.
Very good.
All right.
Yep.
Now the next thing, and this is my eye is drawn to this next thing, is over here is going to be the globe.
Yep.
And that globe has a big raft on it.
Yep.
It's a big wooden raft. It's maybe in the oceans there in the globe, but that raft means Taft.
Taft, that's right. Yep.
All right. This one I love. This one I love because Nelson and I both have a destructive sort of personality, perhaps, but I see a big yellow Wilson tennis ball and someone slamming it, and that grandfather clock takes a hit.
Yep.
As a result, that's Wilson.
Very good. Cool.
All right. And then this sofa, as inviting as it looks, is actually hard and made of cement, and hard leads me to Harding.
There you go.
So Harding's a good
Perfect.
president. All right.
5 for 5.
Nelson says this will stick with us for a while, especially if we practice recalling it a couple times over the next few weeks. In 6 months or even a year, it should still be there. From Nelson to speedster Alex Mullen to the scientists examining why and how this all works, as well as the kids and educators who find such joy in pushing their brains to the limit, it's been a fascinating journey into memory and the mind.